Hello and welcome to Zwischen Workshop 6 Colour Light Play. My name is Steve Allen and you can catch me on at LooksQueer on Twitter and at ThatLooksQueer on Instagram. I'm here with Luke, whose second name has now escaped me. I'll edit that out in the edit. Sorry, Luke.
Hello, my name's Luke Walsh.
Luke Walsh, apologies.
Me on Instagram at I Live in a Square. And we're going to be talking about the video in question. We can show you that if needed. The light colour play video.
Yes, I'll just grab that now.
I've got that here on my desktop. So, unless you want to play it.
No, I'll let you take it away. If you have the power, I believe, as co-host.
So, do you want the original video first, or would you like follow up that I did? Let's
start with the original. I think that I've sent you a clip of that.
I have got that on my desktop, but I'm not quite sure. Let's have a look. Go review. How do I share my screen, Stephen? I'm not quite.
If you scroll to the bottom, it should be share screen, a little green blob.
That's it. So I've clicked that on. So can you see my screen at all?
I can't see your shared screen, no.
Right. There's going to be a lot of editing on this video for you.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Multiple participants can share simultaneously. Advanced, who can share? Reactions. That's me, that messing about. Right, there's no option for me to share a screen unless.
Oh, bugger off. Right. Let's see. That one.
I mean, it opens it in QuickTime, but that's not what we want to do, is it?
I can open your video, I think. Right. I can open your video. Let's try that.
Right, it says you've started screen sharing, yes.
Yep. Let's try that. There we are.
I mean, I suppose, could you edit the original video in?
If I've got it, I don't think I've got the original video. I have. I've got it.
Well, let's watch this anyway. It's a bit lower quality, it looks, but.
Yes, apologies for that. I think
it might be me. I don't know if it's the same at your end.
I think it's just the wooliness of Zoom.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So can I pause the video? Is that possible?
No, but if you're wanting me to pause it, there we are.
So, this video was done really with an old high 8 video camera from about 1998 or something like that. Is it vintage? I don't know. Is the equipment vintage? I'd say probably not, but it's something which you wouldn't normally use. I mean, if you notice on the video itself, on the original video, it's quite grainy and it's got that kind of old VHS off-color look, which I quite like.
That sort of granularity and texture to it.
I think it gives it character. It's not as clear as like a high definition recording, which I think is too clean. There's nothing. It's just perfect, nearly, isn't it? And with 4K as well, it's even better. But you can pick these up really cheap, and there's so much potential in them. But this is basically one of the cameras zoomed in on my TV. So what it's doing, it's actually recording what it's seeing on the TV, and then it's looping round, and it's basically a feedback loop. So like with sound, you can feed sound back into itself and re-record, and it just gets bigger and bigger. But with video, it's a similar thing really. But it's just recording what it's seeing and the changes, and the more it changes, the more it sort of gradually gets worse, if you get me. But it creates this lovely pattern just because of the array of pixelation on a modern TV. And I just think that's lovely, really. And some of the colours, I mean, you couldn't. I mean, it's the uncertainty as well of what's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's the play element of it to me. So what I tend to do when I'm doing things like this, I might record half an hour's worth, and out of that you might get 5 minutes of really good quality. What you can edit down and cut, and then use and then save. But you were talking about Doctor Who earlier.
Yeah, definitely.
Now it does sort of remind me of that age of their video effects, and things like Red Dwarf and sci-fi series, like comedy series and things, and Blake Seven, things like that. I think are an influence in the video work anyway. Because
it's definitely. It definitely has that sort of nostalgic quality to it.
Maybe that's another thing, nostalgia. That's another important thing. And I think that's very powerful, nostalgia.
Yeah. Is that something that is an important string within your medium? Do you think? Within your practice?
Even in my sculptural work, it's been the forefront this year in university. The nostalgia element being when I was younger, when I was at my grandma's house, and I remember certain objects, and I remember certain feelings and colours and smells from a particular time in my life. And that's when I decided to do, there's a piece of work I did which involves a table with tassels on. And I remember being at my grandma's house, playing with the tassels on her settee. And I remember certain things, what was on the TV at the time, and I remember, I don't know, I've had to basically compile all that information, try and dig deep, and put that into a sculptural piece, which I've done in an installation, which I can send you the links for that anyway, so you can see that. But one of the pieces as well involves soap, because I always remember the smell of a particular soap that she had in the bathroom.
Was it like that carbolic soap, the green?
It was, I think it was either Palmolive green.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which I couldn't find. I looked all over for that, and it's got a particular smell, so I had to go around all the shops smelling the soap, which I'm sure looked a bit strange. But yeah, I found a soap. It's Pear's transparent soap, and it's like a cold tarry smell, like an old medicinal smell to it.
Yeah.
And when I bought it, I opened it up with the intention of, well, I didn't really have an intention at that time, because I bought it to maybe experiment with and play with it. But I noticed when I stacked it up and I put light behind it, it was a really lovely effect. So what I did with the soap, I built a light box with 2 neon lights.
Right, yeah.
I pulled the soap up. There was about 15, 20 bars of soap in this box. And I put it in a space with the table, with a couple of other pieces. And it was really nice. The light was quite effective, but the main thing what people commented on was the smell. And I think that's what I wanted to bring across. And a lot of people who saw the exhibition, well, we didn't actually have an exhibition because of the coronavirus, but there were demos of the exhibition and like temporary spaces. So yeah, what people commented on was, it reminds me of a grandma kind of smell. which it worked, and that's exactly the point I wanted to bring across.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is a lot of nostalgia in the past year in my work, and I think that's something I'm jumping on more, even creating these light works and these video works. So yeah, I mean, we can carry on watching if you want, but yeah, I feel very nostalgic and very, very safe, if you get me. It brings it back to a more simpler time when you were a child.
Yeah, I think it does. It's very powerful. Nostalgia is a sort of vehicle for transporting you into a different mind frame.
Yes, but
And I think that
I've also got to understand that your nostalgia is not always the same as mine.
yeah, that's true. And I think it's simple to think of it as nostalgia as this sort of collective state. I mean, it's used often as sort of the good old days.
Yes.
And the idea of this sort of utopian never was, in terms of the I mean, you've only got to look at the idea of it in politics.
Yes.
As the idea of Brexit as being this sort of return to sort of we're controlling our borders. The idea of the blue passport as being something that we used to have, and sort of this return to a strong and stable Britain, and this idea of this jingoistic idea of nostalgia.
Yes.
So as much as it can be this sort of warming, comforting blanket, it can also be used as this sort of subversive sort of thing in order to dangle in front of you, to lead you towards something that never actually existed. It's a strangely powerful force.
Yeah.
And I just find it interesting the ways in which it can be used, and it's one of the reasons that I find your work really fascinating in the intricacy with which you use it.
I mean, if you go back as well to there's about 6 different experiments
Mm-hmm.
on this video.
Scroll backwards on the video.
Yes, please, if you can scroll back a little bit.
Yeah.
Keep going. See this one.
Yeah.
See what you were saying about. There's a bit of the unknown as well in the nostalgia, because you can't always remember these moments as they were. So that's maybe where the distortion comes in with play and with objects. So this particular frame, this frame, I used a prism which I showed you earlier from an old camera, which obviously distorts the signal. So it's just placed in front of the camera, and to me it makes the image quite warm, and I've used warming colours anyway. I think I'm attracted to those colours because we were talking about colour yesterday, and emotions associated with a particular colour or colours or a group of colours. And I think this set of colours, the yellow and the red and the orange, are very warming, and just like you said earlier, the blanket of nostalgia. And I think that's just what I'm trying to portray, really. And you can see that the shapes are quite unknown. You're not really sure what the shapes are.
Yeah.
And maybe I like to keep that a mystery.
Yeah.
And if you carry on playing it, and the sort of move very.
Is it sort of? Are you drawn towards more sort of abstraction?
Yes, I think I am, especially in this medium.
Mm-hmm.
But in the sculptural way of working, I use objects.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not it. But I like to put them together abstractly, if you know what I mean. I like to combine objects with other objects which wouldn't normally be associated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this sun-looking circle, it just draws you in, and it to me it's mesmerizing, really.
Yeah,
it's pulsating. It's got life.
it is. It's very sort of, again, seems sort of comforting and warming.
Yeah. So maybe there's something about warmth and comfort within the colours I use and within the mediums that I experiment with.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I did the thing that I've did in the previous workshop with regards to what your least favorite colors were. But out of that, you mentioned that red and black are two colors that you like to work with.
I think from a design perspective, I'm always, if I'm doing typography or if I'm doing simple shapes, I am always attracted to that combination, the red and the black.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, there's like a gradient in this particular video, the gradient from red to black. So there's the change of, and the gradients, the change of color, which is also being featured a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
My design especially.
But yeah.
Can you see the outside edge of the right hand side of the circle? It's flickering a little bit.
Yeah.
I think things like that, like obscurities. I mean, obviously it's too bright for the camera, and it's probably trying to stabilize it somehow, but it gives it movement. So
mm-hmm.
so by overloading the camera or the image, it's giving it life, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This one was a simple. I've got an LED light that I use for photography work, and it was just zoomed in on the light, and I used a crystal, like a crystal bottle opener.
All right, yeah.
And that's all that is. And things like household objects, there's so much in the home which you can use to generate effects like this on the cheap as well.
But yeah, right.
But yeah, the whole thing about play and just finding things, it's almost reverting back to childhood, looking for things to use. Because sometimes when I set the camera up, I don't have a plan a lot of the time. If I'm working in video, I don't really have any plans unless I've got a brief. But a lot of the time, I just do it for myself, and you end up just discovering and playing and finding. And I get my daughter into it as well, and I get her to find shapes and find things which might reflect or mirror things. But yeah, it's just an amazing experience, really.
Yeah. Speaking of sort of play and your daughter, and sort of links to one of the reasons why I sort of asked you to come up with a reimagining of this this is where I'm sort of butcher the German language.
Yes.
Reflektorische Farbe-Lichtspiele, which is
that's great.
Reflecting Color Light Plays by Kurt Schwagfeld, is because of one of the people who was involved in these color light plays, which was Alma Zeidhoff Buscher.
Yes.
She worked within, she was originally a student of the Bauhaus and entered into it in 1922.
Yes.
And did the preliminary course with Johannes Itten, Kandinsky, and Klee. But early on, she sort of realized that rather than having an aptitude for weaving, which unfortunately traditionally women, if they got into the Bauhaus, were sort of put towards the women's work.
Yes.
And were sort of sent towards doing the weaving or pottery rather than Marianne Brandt, who we mentioned on an earlier workshop, who went into the metalworking workshop. In this case, Alma Zeidholt-Buscher had an aptitude for woodwork. So she went into the woodworking workshop in 1923 under the instruction of Georg Mucha, and was instrumental in designing children's furniture for Haus am Horn in 1924. And out of that, she also designed some small, toys, and really, really good toys. One of which is still being manufactured today, which is the small shipbuilding game. So this is where I share the screen again, if I can get it up. There we are. Yeah, here we are. So yeah, this small shipbuilding game. Again, in terms of not only being sort of creative and bright and sculptural, was also at the time pretty radical in terms of its sort of methodology towards toys for children.
Are you able to open that picture up?
I thought that I had.
No, it's just on the thumbnail view.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is at this end anyway.
Right.
I can see them, but they're very small. I don't, because you've got two, haven't you? You've got the shipbuilding game and the that's it. That came up then for a brief second.
Right, hang on. You see it now?
No, it's not come up. Unless it's somewhere else on screen. No, I can just see the other files. It's all right. I can still see them, but
right,
I can see it in the box on the thumbnail. It's just lovely to see it packed down as well.
That's really weird. Let's see if we can sort this out. Sharing, you are screen sharing. Right.
I can see your mouse pointer.
That better?
No.
Ugh.
I can see your pointers actually on the second image, but it's not blowing it up. Can you right click it and preview or something like that? I bet it's down below because I've just seen something pop up further down. Can you drag the window up to where it is, where this is?
No, I think
No.
It's saying that I'm sharing screen, but
you are, yeah.
Let's stop the sharing screen.
Yeah, now you're back to. You've actually gave me an idea how I could possibly extend that video. I'll let you do that first.
Oh, it's all right. I'm just bemoan, right.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I can see that.
It's working now.
Yeah.
I had too many tabs open. Right, here we are.
Can you open the first picture, the one in the box?
The one.
Doesn't matter if you can't. I mean.
Oh right, yeah. Boop. That one.
Oh, that looks so nice, packed down in the box. I mean, look how new it looks on there, and then look at the second picture.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been used. And
yeah.
It looks really faded and.
Yeah, this one is actually the NAAF, which is this is actually a new one.
Okay, yeah.
So this one is the original,
Is that,
whereas the previous one is the replica. So
I'd love to play with that. I really would.
Yeah, they're really nice. But again, the idea of this, it's sort of, at the time when this was manufactured in 1924, it was revolutionary in terms of the sort of way in which it's sort of, the idea of it was revolutionary. Sort of the idea that a toy for children didn't have to be descriptive.
Yes.
That it was, while it was still a wooden toy, it was the idea of it being so nondescript.
It's also interesting from a design point of view and an artistic point of view, whereas you can break each part of the ship down into its basic form. And I bet you could build all sorts with that, not just ships.
Oh yeah, they basically had the idea of it being lots of different components that were made that you can make out of it. Oh, hang on, I haven't got that. But anyway, there's, if you can see on the box, it basically has, I'm not sure whether I can make that any larger.
It's got different configurations, hasn't it? One looks like a circus tent, one looks like the Sydney Opera House. Yeah,
the whole marketing of it was basically, this is sort of the ship, but you can take each of the blocks and arrange them in various different ways, and that was the other revolutionary idea of it. The fact that the play element is for you to take these blocks and imagine them as your own, which was, at the time, it was basically you buy something that looks like something, and so you'd buy something that you make in order for it to look like a ship, because it was a ship. This sort of artistic viewpoint of, yes, it's a sort of ship game, but you can turn it into whatever you like, and the only limit is your imagination.
That's right. I remember, again, that with the nostalgia trip, I remember having a box of mismatched Lego, and it was a massive box, and the noise of going through it to find a specific piece will always be in my mind. That noise of Lego moving about. But yeah, it's that's a great.
It's just,
but
in terms of the design of
everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, for me, it's just the design element of this is just, I can only comprehend that and the fact that it's sort of the visual language of it, to go, that is a boat, it seems so simple and yet so complex for you to wrap your head around the fact that that is a boat.
I remember speaking to a friend of mine. He's called Chris Slater, a plein air painter, and he's always out and about painting most days. And I always used to get tips off him, because I'd love to be able to paint, but unfortunately I can't. But he used to basically say there's only, I think it were 3 shapes in the world. And if you break things down, shape by shape, and that's how he sees subjects to paint. I suppose that's how I see this.
Yeah.
From a design play perspective. And each piece can be configured or altered to suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've actually gave me another idea. I was saying earlier about the, like, rewatching that video back with you then. I'd love to see that in an exhibition setting. So on a screen, imagine, like, on that video, there's 6 different, I'll call them experiments, different types of video, different ways of making the video. There's 6 different ways that I used. So I could imagine 6 screens. There's also a soundtrack on the video as well. It's like a droney a drony, really slowed down piece of music. I could just imagine it in a gallery with square screens, just playing the videos, just one after the other. And I think that would really give it a nice atmosphere in a white cube space.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with the music, because I think now, I mean, personally, when I'm thinking about exhibiting, it needs to have sound, it needs to have video, it needs to be an installation, it needs to be a complete package, a complete a place where people can experience and take everything in from each sense that they can. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think that,
and
again,
I do strive to do that in my work. I mean, probably only in the last couple of years I've thought about other elements and putting them all together within installation. So, and I think installation, it keeps it open-ended, so you can always add things and take things away. And it just gives a lovely atmosphere to a space. And I think it tells a much richer story.
Yeah, definitely. I think again, is that one of the restrictions, do you think, with well, I'll try and make this question open-ended.
Okay.
Is that a restriction? That's not open-ended, but anyway, I'm just going to say it. Is that a restriction of the sort of art school model? Do they sort of gear you towards one particular medium?
No. I mean, I feel that I want to work in multiple mediums, and they push that. They allow that. They promote that. If I was, for example, just a painter or a drawer, they'd still push you to expand on that. I think that's great. And I think people need to experience different mediums. I think people need to work in sculpture just to try it.
Yeah.
People need to draw. People need to paint. When I first went to uni and we did a painting workshop, and I thought, is this really me? I'm not a painter. I don't think I'll ever be a painter. But I enjoyed it, and I started painting, but not in the traditional sense of painting, but using paint as a medium. So not to paint things, but to, I don't know, use in conjunction with other mediums and other objects. So it enabled me to think about mixing media together, and I suppose it got me thinking about installation in the end, because you go through that many different mediums and practices, especially in uni, because obviously there's that many facilities as well. Within the fine arts, that you've got access to everything, everything around. So that includes woodwork, and it includes casting, moulding, it includes the furnace, it includes all the workshops, everything. And I think that's great about Sheffield anyway.
Yeah.
And the way that they work it. But you've got to want to do it as well. I mean, you're not forced into doing it, but I feel the need to just experiment with everything. Yeah. And that's my nature of my work and my play, I suppose. But yeah, I do feel that. What was the original question?
It was just whether it ever felt restricting.
No. I think that's based on yourself as an artist or as a person as well. If you don't want to be restricted, you'll find a way to make work. I'd like to be forced. I mean, I've been in lockdown, being at home's forced me to be restricted, to work in different ways. Yeah. So I've been working with materials in the home. So I've been working with light photography. I've been photographing things in the home, like the soap. I've been playing with washing up liquid. I bought washing up liquid bottles and I put some lights behind it to see what the effect was. And I've got a couple of pictures as well. I can send you those. So I suppose by restricting, it makes you think more. So I think it does the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Restricting yourself, it opens more doors than you think.
Yeah.
And
I
can't wait to be back in the studio,
mm-hmm.
but I can feel my practice has changed in these last couple of months by being at home.
Yeah.
And not having all the facilities that are available at university. So yeah, I think restriction is a good thing.
Yeah, I know that we mentioned the paralysis of choice. Sometimes if you've got such a lot, it's like you become like a rabbit in the headlights. You become so unable to and overwhelmed that sometimes you need direction.
Yes, I mean it was Julie who when we met.
Yeah.
It was Julie. She's my my teacher in the second year, my main lecturer, and she basically sort of advised me to focus on a particular theme, and that's when I chose the memory and the nostalgia of my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, it's made the whole piece of work or the surrounding pieces of work much more rich. And if I didn't have that advice, I'd have gone from one thing to another, and the works wouldn't be as they just wouldn't be as interesting, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But because I've invested more time into a particular subject, it's made me realise that you can create a whole body of work around it, and that body of work will link together, and they'll all be associated with each other. Each piece has a meaning and a link.
Mm-hmm.
In this particular installation, what I did. So yeah, but I think by restricting it does help. And maybe you need to be forced to restrict yourself in your practice to see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be only working in a certain medium or a certain colour or a certain place. I think place is very important as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that does determine what you see and what you create.
Yeah, I think again when you said that it was the sort of aroma, the smell of that soap, that sort of transported you to a particular place.
That's right, it did.
So it's again that sort of the idea of the play, the nostalgia.
And what I was really, really excited about is that other people felt that as well.
Yeah.
And I think for the first time in my art practice, I thought, well, I must be doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Do you think that there is this want to create a sort of sense of belonging by bringing people together in a place that everybody feels like they know?
I think the studio, the vibe of the studio and the that's what I go to university for.
Mm-hmm.
The people, the surroundings, the work that I create it couldn't happen if I didn't have both the people and the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they all interlink, and I feel like I need to be around people, and I need to be in a certain environment to create maybe the best work, or to feel best about creating work.
Mm-hmm.
So the studio is or the communal studio is very important to me. And I can feel, like I said earlier, by just being on my own in the home, my practice has been turned on its head. So I don't really know what I'm going to do when I go back. I'm not really sure how I'm going to create again. I mean, I will, but I just don't know how it'll turn out. But
it's strange how we're expecting things to either be different or return to what it was previously.
Yeah. I think that'll show in a lot of people's work.
Yeah.
That'll be a catalyst for people to create and to reflect on.
Mm-hmm.
and myself as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's something that certainly in my writing, it's gone, at the moment I've gone, what is this sort of lump of time?
yes.
Is it a time to sort of sit back and reflect? But that sort of seems to be a relatively privileged sort of mindset to have.
Yes.
Or is it a time to create? But again, sometimes I just don't have the energy or the sort of, I don't feel like I have the energy to do anything other than just be around. So it's a strange thing to expect the level of productivity that you have within this unknowable, unshapeable bubble,
Yes.
to be what it was before it happened. So it's a weird.
I mean, the first probably a few weeks, well, the first couple of weeks at least, was from coming out of the studio and coming into the home. It wasn't a place that I wanted to make work. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to do anything regarding art. But obviously, as an artist, as time went on, I felt guilty about not creating. So I suppose I adapted to the situation. I adapted to the environment. And it takes a while, but things happen, and then you try different things, and yeah, a lot of works come out of it, but a lot of different works come out of it. Yeah. I mean, the main focus is probably the computer. I mean, the first year of university, the computer was the main thing that I used.
Yeah.
To both create and to collate all my findings. Whereas the second year, I didn't really pick the computer up. I was more hands-on. I wanted to get out of that mindset of being sat in front of something. And I wanted to build and do things with my hands, mold things and shape things, and just use my body and my hands as tools rather than the computer. And I got so excited about that, and I did the installation based on that and the memory thing, obviously. And now I'm back to the computer. So it's sort of turned itself around. But I mean, the first thing what got me into the arts was buying a camera, because I wanted to document my hometown of Rotherham. I wanted to. What I did, I took macro images of walls and floors and doors and just objects around the town and around cities eventually. And that's what got me into the arts in the first place. And I joined a wonderful arts organisation called Rotherham Arts Renaissance.
Yes.
And I think it was thanks to them, they pushed me into doing an art degree, which I'm really thankful for. But yeah, I'm back to using the camera. So I feel like I've come complete cycle. So going through all the phases and I'm back at square one. But I'm looking at things differently to when I looked at them however many years ago when I first joined. Yeah. So there's always something about cycles and what's next. I can never attach myself to a particular style of work or play or medium. It has to constantly evolve. And it's exciting. And that's the nature of play as well. It's exciting. I could never just take photographs and be happy. I could never design and use a computer to design and be fulfilled. I'd want to do more with it. And I think that's why installation is my thing. Because you can combine all these different elements. Yeah. But yeah, I feel at the moment my main mediums are coming back round. So photography's here now. But it might not last long. I might get more into video and do more on that. But yeah, as time goes on, you do combine these elements, and yeah, it's exciting to see what's going to come next, and I like that within the
definitely.
So, can you go to the next image so we can see the blocks again, but the used ones, the second image?
Oh yeah, that one.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I wonder if any artists have done similar shapes within the Bauhaus sculpturally, maybe on a big scale.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
It's interesting.
It's got that Bauhaus colour scheme, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
The primary kind of. I don't know what colours they are exactly, but it'd be interesting to research that actually.
Yeah, definitely.
But I can see big sculptural pieces in buildings or in galleries like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to walk around them and experience them really big.
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of a little shipbuilding game.
Yeah, and I bet as well if a child saw it full size, they'd like to jump on it and do you know, hide in little spaces, and
yeah,
I think it'd be great. I think that'd be good as well. I mean, there's a few sharp corners, but
yeah. But again, but yeah.
But yeah, I'm sort of reimagining that now in just life size.
What just I mean,
well,
the idea of that is, well, I would say that takes the play element out of it, but it wouldn't, because you'd just have it, you'd play in it, not with it.
Yes, that's right, yeah. You can still configure it in whichever way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's interesting.
I can imagine myself really small and jumping on the main bit of the ship, and yeah,
I like that.
I do like the shapes. I might look into what shapes she's used, and maybe try and recreate those shapes digitally. I think that'd be a nice thing to do.
Yeah, that's good.
I also like this. I've done pieces in the past where I've deconstructed other pieces of art, other pieces of work, and reconstructed them. So I've basically remade them, but differently, or different colours. And I just think this would be a really nice thing to do. I mean, there's lots of different elements which can be rearranged infinitely, isn't there? Yeah, I might actually do that. I'm going to do a poster, I think. That's a really good idea. So find out exactly what pieces there are in this game, in this shipbuilding game. Maybe there's do you know, like Lego, when it tells you each individual piece, like there's 6 of them, there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
There's 20 of these pieces. So that's how I like to see. It's like an infographic. It's like
yeah. I get it.
It's like you're seeing what's in the package, or what's in the. It's like a plan, isn't it? It's
yeah.
But yeah, I might do that in poster form. I think that's a really nice thing to do, design-wise, in the meantime. And try and match the colours as well, and maybe do it with alternate colour schemes. I think that'd be nice as well, to see how it feels, how it looks. Has nobody joined then? Are we on a zone?
We are. Oh well.
So are you going to write this up? Are you going to take notes and write it up?
Take notes and write it up, and then it'll be a case of editing it and popping it on YouTube channel.
Oh, that's great. So are you going to put it on your website? Do you know, like when you sent me the link of Connor Shields' exhibition and his work? Is it going to appear on your website in that format?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
So yeah, I shall be writing up this. I think that's going to be the best format for it. But I'll also be editing it and condensing it and throwing it on my YouTube channel.
YouTube.
So
Well, do you need anything else from me then? I mean, because I've mentioned pieces of work which
images of your work would probably be good in order to include on the. That'd probably be best.
Okay, I'll get some. I'll get some images and send them. Yeah. But yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's only been us two, but it's been really informative, and I don't really get chance to talk about my work that much, and sometimes it's quite difficult.
That's fair enough.
To be totally honest, I mean, a lot of things happen in my practice, and sometimes it's hard to gauge what comes in and out, and things get lost. I mean, yeah, it's good to sometimes sit down and focus and chat and talk about what is actually happening. And by you giving me the platform, it's been great. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, I'll edit it.
Yes.
I'll send you the edit. If there's anything in it that you don't like, send it me back and I'll chop it. And the other thing is, if you want, once I sort of send you a copy of it, if you're wanting to send it to Julie,
that's great. Yeah,
as something to basically say, I've done like a literary review of my work and something else.
And it's also interesting to see what you pick out of it. Talk about as well, because I could talk all day about pieces of work or what I do, but it's up to you to pick what you feel necessary out of what I say, and try and link it to the original topic of play. And I think it's going to be interesting. I do.
I think it'd be good for the both of us if Julie sort of casts her eye over it.
Yeah, I mean, from that initial meeting, it's strange that it's actually come to this. I'm quite surprised, really.
Yeah,
but in a good way.
But yeah, I think that we'll wind it up there, and it's been great.
Well, I was talking to Delton as well, and he's very interested in just getting involved. Really, maybe doing one of these. I'm not quite sure what he wants to do exactly, but he's definitely interested in.
Yeah, he emailed me, and I've sent him the brief with regards to what basically this is.
Yes.
So I think I've sent him information with regards to a time frame, but I've also said that that's sort of loose. So it's basically, my idea would be to have a word with regards to the typography of the Bauhaus.
That I think
there's a specific sort of person who was responsible for the Bauhaus typography and all of the sort of graphic imagery and advertising, and I think that that'd be right up his street.
Okay.
So I've given him some information with regards to one of the designers of the Bauhaus, but also Robert Brownjohn worked with Laszlo Moholy-Nagy in the 1960s, and he was responsible for the design of the Bond themes.
All right, okay.
So he did From Russia with Love, and he sort of did From Russia with Love and The Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah.
Did those two, and then he was sacked. But off the back of that, he set up his own design company, and he did, the Rolling Stones album cover with the cake that was made by Delia Smith. So really, really famous. I'll send you the information.
Yeah, that'd be.
He set up his own design company that was basically responsible for really, really famous design in the 1960s.
Oh wow!
But he was also sort of responsible for. Well, there's this direct causal link with James Bond, which I love. I just love the fact that James Bond has a link to the Bauhaus.
Well, that's bizarre. Yeah, I'm just looking at that cover. I don't think I've ever seen it. It's called Let It Bleed, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Let It Bleed.
Wow. Oh, that's something else, that. That's great. I mean, it's mad how things are interlinked, and
yeah.
It's not just
that's why I love the Bauhaus.
It's not just about the Bauhaus, because it is, but then it brings so much else to it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll get in touch with him again, because I speak to him quite regular anyway. But yeah, he's an old friend. I met him at Raw. Same as Vicky Hilton, really. I met her through Raw, and she ran the gallery for a while in Rotherham, the art gallery. But yeah, I'll it's been pretty interesting, Stephen. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Okie. I shall see you on.
All right then. Yeah. I'll send you some stuff, and there's no rush. Just send me whatever you get written up in your own time.
Not a bother.
I'll speak to you soon. Very soon.
Speak to you soon.
All right, thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.